This is the all-new Neta X, previewed first at the Malaysian Auto Show and now finally launched in Malaysia. Priced from just under 120,000 ringgit and rising to 135,800 ringgit, this now puts the Neta X right in contention with vehicles like the Chery Omoda E5 and the BYD Atto 3. So, we've said a lot about Neta, we've said a lot about the Neta V. Is the Neta X any better? Well, we're here at the launch to tell you just that. My name is AIMAN ABDULLAH, this is Malaysian Motoring, and this is our launch coverage of the new Neta X. Now, the Neta X arrives in Malaysia in three variants, being the 400 Comfort, 400 Luxury, and 500 Luxury. Now, the Luxury variants naturally get a little bit more kit, with the Comfort being the entry-level model. Now, as I mentioned earlier, prices start at 119,888 ringgit for the 400 Comfort, rising to 127,888 ringgit for the 400 Luxury, and then topping off at 135,888 ringgit for the 500 Luxury. Now, all cars are covered with a 5-year, 150,000 kilometer warranty, whereas the battery is covered by an 8-year, 180,000 kilometer warranty instead. Now, regardless of which variant you get, the powertrain remains the same. So there's a single electric motor up front producing about 161 horsepower, 163 PS, and 210 Newton meters of torque, which gives it a century sprint time of 9.5 seconds. Now, there is an LFP battery powering this, where on the 400 models it's 51.8 kilowatt hours, which gives it a 401 kilometer NEDC range. Whereas if you get a 500 Luxury, then you get a 62 kilowatt hour battery, which gives you a 480 kilometer NEDC range. AC charging is done at 6.6 kilowatts, which means that for the bigger battery, it takes about 11 hours from dead to full, whereas for DC fast charging, it goes up to 65 kilowatts, where 30 to 80% can be achieved in just 30 minutes. Now, Neta is very keen to point out that this car also comes with a 3,300 watt V2L system, which allows you to power a variety of different appliances should you be out camping, for example, and that also comes as part of the car. Now, in terms of the overall design, we've seen the Neta V before and we've given it quite a lot of grief because it does look like a motorized shopping trolley. Now, the Neta X doesn't, because this looks like a Hyundai Kona. Now, you can also get this car in a very bright blue, which is very reminiscent of Jeju Blue from Hyundai. But like the Hyundai, you get a dual-tier lighting system with the headlights moving down here, and up here is just the indicator and DRLs, or at least in this case, the positioning lights as well. There is plenty of space under here, which you cannot use as cargo. The wheels are 18 inches in size and look tiny, but overall, it does look like a much more mature vehicle compared to the Neta V that we've seen in the past, which again, look like crap. This doesn't look so crappy, so that's a good thing. Now, at least the back of the Neta X also shows that this car is much more mature, much more upmarket, which is why you get a full LED light bar all the way across, and on the Comfort models, it is also a powered tailgate. The button is offset, which is why I couldn't find it. Oh, it's a Comfort. Anyway, behind the tailgate, you will find no parcel shelf, but also 508 liters of space. Now, if you were to fold the rear seats flat 60-40 split, you get a little over 1,000 liters worth of space. There's also a false floor in this, which at its higher setting does have a little bit of a lip, but if you open it at this point, you can stuff your charging cables, etc. in the car without too much issue. Now, because it's the Comfort model, as you can see, it's not a powered tailgate, but the Luxury models have a powered tailgate. Now, if your baseline for Neta is based on the V, then you will be delighted to discover that this interior actually looks like a car. So up ahead, you now get a standard fit touchscreen across all variants, which is surprisingly snappy and responsive, actually. And it's got pretty decent graphics as well, although some of the features that Neta is touting will not yet be available, which they say will come via an over-the-air update. Things like Apple CarPlay, for example, are not yet available. Same thing with your app support. That's not yet available. Coming later, they promise. Now, that aside, at least you do get, for example, all your controls are fairly easy to find, although some of the interface items in here are a bit confusing, like this common screen, which is very weird. But aside from this, you also get a digital instrument cluster, which I cannot tell is a screen or just looks like it's digital. I think it is a screen, but it looks like it's not a screen. It's a bit odd. Now, aside from that, the design of the steering wheel I think is quite remarkable because it has controls like a Tesla where you just have two joysticky type things and a couple of buttons on either side, and they sit on a very intricately designed wheel, which I find to be quite fascinating. Now, in terms of ergonomics, you do have a pretty decent amount of adjustability, so it should be quite easy to get comfortable in here. And these cars also come with powered front seats, also for the majority of the variants. It also likes to switch off whenever it likes. There's no start-stop button, so I can't stop it from doing that. Anyway, aside from that, you also get a decent amount of space underneath the center console. You get a wireless charger here on luxury models. You also get this sort of felt-lined space here, so if you put something here, it shouldn't run around. There's a decently sized center console bin, and you also get a standard fit panoramic sunroof, which not only opens, but also has a powered sunshade, which apparently is something that BYD can't put in the Seal, Tesla can't put in the Model 3, and Aura can't put in the 07. We apologize for the lighting because the event organizers don't realize what content creators need. Now, one of the things that I find quite interesting about the Neta X is that despite it being positioned against things like the BYD Atto 3 and the Chery Omoda E5, as you can see, legroom in this car is palatial. The front seat is set at my driving position of 170 centimeters, and as you can see, I have acres of knee room, and despite this powered panoramic sunshade, I still have a good amount of headroom. Now, the Neta X is available with two interior upholstery options, being this very somber black as well as a tan leather interior, which I think makes this interior look a little bit more upmarket and a little bit more inviting. But in terms of the overall practicality, things are still pretty good. You get pockets on the backs of the seats, you get a set of crotch coolers, USB-A, USB-C port, you get a decent amount of storage in the doors, and you get a couple of cup holders via this deployable center armrest. And if you don't want cup holders, you can just press this button and it just turns into a storage tray, which I think is quite interesting. Now, the Neta X, again, is positioned as a sort of B-C segment EV, but the pricing sort of muddies the water a little bit because at 119,000 ringgit, it does go quite a bit lower than vehicles like the BYD Atto 3 as well as the Chery Omoda E5, which means that this should do decently well. Oh, I forgot the GAC Ion Y+, which is actually more spacious than this, would you believe it? Now, between today and the 31st of July, Neta is offering a premium package for those who register or place their bookings. Firstly, they will double your booking amount from 1,000 to 2,000 ringgit. They'll offer you a free wall box or 2,400 kilowatt hours worth of charging credits via Charge EV, as well as 2 years free maintenance, equivalent to about 40,000 kilometers of mileage. Now, I mentioned this because I'd also like to then touch on safety. Now, the luxury models both come with your typical level 2 semi-autonomy systems, things like traffic jam assist, adaptive cruise control, AEB, etc., etc. However, neither of these cars have ASEAN NCAP ratings, which is particularly important given the fact that these may be purchased by young families for people who want to cart their family about. And I certainly would think twice about buying a car that doesn't have an ASEAN NCAP rating. Now, I may be wrong, and I certainly look forward to being corrected in the comments if I am, but no matter how hard I try, I can't find an NCAP rating anywhere. So again, for 119,800 ringgit or 135,000 if you're willing to get the most expensive model, is this what you'd cart your family around in? I'd certainly like to know. And more importantly, do you think that this raises the brand value for Neta after the disastrous Neta V? I'd certainly like to know. In any case, that wraps up our launch coverage of the new Neta X. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, hit the bell icon so you're notified every time we make a new upload. Don't forget to follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. You can join our new WhatsApp channel. All the links are in the description below. Thank you so much for watching. We'll catch you in the next one. Take care, stay safe, and bye, people.